It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of March 14th, 1997. We got 5 movies to look at today, so let's go ahead and jump on into it. And we'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, the re-release of the final chapter of the Star Wars trilogy, the original Star Wars trilogy, I should say, the special editions. This is, of course, Return of the Jedi. Of course, this is the end of the Star Wars Trilogy Special Editions. This was actually, as you can tell from that trailer, it was supposed to come out on March 7th, but I guess they pushed it back because Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back were still making money in the re-releases, so I guess Fox wanted to wait another week to get as much money as they could, at least from Empire Strikes Back, and thus Return of the Jedi was put out this weekend, even though Return of the Jedi made the lowest grossing, had the lowest amount of all the Star Wars re-releases, Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi, of course, is the last installment of the original trilogy, directed by Richard Marquand, who I did not know this until I looked him up. He died a couple of years, only 4 years after this movie came out. He had like a stroke in in London, England. He was only 49 years old when he passed away, which is really hard to think about that. 4 years ago, you made Return of the Jedi, and then all of a sudden that's the end of your life right there. I mean, that's pretty tragic when you really think about it. I thought that was kind of interesting. I thought that was kind of a little bit of an interesting story before we jump into the movie itself. Return of the Jedi, it is a really good film. It's definitely the lesser of the 3 films in the Star Wars series. It's very interesting the production history behind this, because Steven Spielberg was once attached to direct the film. They almost went to David Lynch and David Cronenberg as possible directors in here, and just imagine what that would have been like. A David Lynch directed Star Wars movie, or hell, a David Cronenberg directed Star Wars movie, especially after doing Scanners, and then Videodrome, and then this. Needless to say, that would have been very, very interesting. I kind of would have liked to have seen what they would have done with that movie, but of course, like I said before, it's directed this time by Richard Marquand, and it wraps the series up on a good enough note. There's still a lot of stuff in here that's really good. The new stuff they add here is pretty ridiculous. I mean, the trailer alone, those scenes that they added there, you can definitely tell that they added in there, and for this re-release, and it's pretty bad looking. It's not very good, and kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of what the prequels would eventually be like a couple years later. But like I said, as far as the movie itself goes, it's still a very solid film. It does have a couple of elements in there that aren't that great, like the whole thing with the Ewoks in here. It's fine, but it's nothing too spectacular. I mean, they basically spell it out here that, yes, Leia is Luke's sister, and you go back to the original Star Wars where they don't say that, and, you get the whole incestuous type of thing. Like, it's a little ewy, but at the same time, it's still ewy. Like, it's still kind of hard to take that in. And, but other than that, though, this movie still is very good. It does a very good job of wrapping up this original trilogy. It does a good job of wrapping up the story they're setting up. Everybody in here is great. Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Billy D. Williams, Anthony Daniels, David Prowse, James Earl Jones, Frank Oz, all the people I'm going to mention here, because you probably have seen this movie many, many times, just like the other Star Wars movies. And really, I don't think I have any more to say about this one that has already been said already. It's definitely the lesser of the Star Wars trilogy, but it is still a very good film. It wraps up a really good trilogy. Yeah, Empire is still going to be the best of these 3 films, and it still has everything that you like about Star Wars, everything that we like about Star Wars at this point. It wraps up the stories very well. It wraps everything up in a nice film, and yeah, I mean, really, you didn't really need to add any more to the storyline, but of course they would later on down the road. But before we get to those movies, we get to the prequels, which come out a couple years later, and this was the thing that these movies, once again, were the thing that probably convinced 20th Century Fox and George Lucas to say, let's finally make this trilogy you wanted to make, this prequel trilogy, and the results for that were certainly mixed, but we will get to those ones once we get to Phantom Menace in 99, but not much more to say about this one. Return of the Jedi, great movie. Would have been nice to see this on the big screen when I was 8 years old, but I never really got around to seeing these on the big screen, unfortunately. I only really saw my first time ever seeing the Star Wars movies was on video, and then slowly but surely. Honestly, my first Star Wars movie I saw on the big screen was Revenge of the Sith. and that's probably the best of the prequels. But it even ends on kind of a mediocre, on kind of a bland note. Like it couldn't even. It was the only one of those movies that was actually enjoyable for a good chunk of it, and then the final 10 minutes come around, and you have Darth Vader going no, like yeah, like again. We'll delve more into that once we get to Revenge of the Sith. But like I said, Return of the Jedi, not much more I can say about that one. Classic film, good to end to the original trilogy. So with that said, on to the next movie, and that is Love Jones. It's been a long time since I've actually seen this one, but from what I remember from it, I did enjoy this movie. But like I said, it's been over 10 years since I've seen this film. You've got Lawrence Tate from Boys in the Hood, Neil Long, Isaiah Washington pre-Grey's Anatomy, Bill Bellamy, Lisa Nicole Carson pre-Alan McBeal. And it is kind of a romantic comedy centering around these 5 different people. And it's very well done. From what I remember from it, I enjoyed the film. I haven't seen it in a long time, so I can't really say if it's held up over the years. I'm going to assume it is. I mean, I don't think there's anything in this particular film that really would have been different compared to what I saw 10 years ago when I saw this movie, or I can't remember the exact time period, but it felt like 10 years ago. But as far as I remember from it, I did enjoy it. I did remember liking it, but I've never really had a real desire to go back to watch it, honestly. And I like all these people that are in the film. I've seen them in a lot of other good movies. But as far as the movie itself goes, like I said, from what I remember from it, I really did enjoy it, but it's been a long time since I've seen it, so that's pretty much all I can say about that one. So that is Love Jones, so let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is City of Industry. This is pretty much a movie we've seen done over and over again. You have a retired thief. He swears revenge on the lunatics who killed his brother and partner while going on the run with the loot that they stole. And I think we've seen these movies done over and over again, but much better. I mean, despite the fact it's got a good cast to it, Harvey Keitel, Timothy Hunt, and Stephen Dorff, Famke Janssen, Michael Jai White, Lucy Liu, Elliot Gould's in here too, so is Dana Barron from Vacation. But this definitely felt like one of those movies that came from Orion as they were slowly but surely closing down their company after going into bankruptcy. This felt like something that was sitting on the shelf for a number of years, and quite frankly, I don't think that a lot of people really know this movie even existed, and quite frankly, I can't imagine why, because it doesn't really look like anything that really stands out on its own. I mean, who knows? Maybe this is actually something that could be interesting, or could be actually be good, but I've not heard a lot of people say anything really that great about it, so who knows? Maybe it isn't that great. Maybe it is, or maybe it is something that's special, but like I said, I don't know for sure. I haven't seen it, so I can't really say if it's good or not, so on to the next film, and that is The Substance of Fire. Another one of those movies that certainly feels very topical even today, about Holocaust deniers and people that don't want to pretend the Holocaust actually happened. You have a person who survived the Holocaust. He arrives in New York as an orphan. He reinvents himself as this bon vivant, married well, found fame and fortune as a champion of authors who are passionate about their work rather than its bestseller potential. And he's kind of faced with this conflict, the potential Japanese takeover of this increasingly insolent firm. He must browbeat his 3 children, all principal stockholders, who he dismisses in varying degrees, including into accepting his plan to publish a 6-volume scholarly work on Nazi medical experiments, despite their belief a highly successful commercial novel is the only thing that will keep them from going under. So, basically the plot there, like I said, I haven't seen this movie, so I can't really say if it's any good or not. I don't know if there's anything that promising to it, but like I said, it looks like something that could be very topical even for today, so quick one there, not much more I can say about that one. On to the last film, Drunks. Ensemble piece about a group of alcoholics and addicts who attend an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. They each have these different stories. You see Richard Lewis in there, Faye Dunaway, Diane Weiss, Spalding Gray, Amanda Plummer, Parker Posey, Lisa Gay Hamilton, Callista Flockhart, Sam Rockwell, Zach Grenier. Some notable names in here overall, and again, I don't really know too much about this movie. I don't know if it's anything that great or anything about it, but I see a lot of good reviews for it. I mean, it does seem like a movie where it kind of feels like an equivalent to something like My Dinner with Andre, where you're in a room and you just have all these people talking about their problems. And I mean, if it's done well, it could turn out to be really good. So maybe this actually could be something pretty interesting. But again, like I said, I don't really know too much about the movie. I can't really say if it's that great or not, but definitely shows some promise from what I see here from that little trailer. So Another quick one there. So that's Drunks. So with that said, that wraps up another edition of Time About the Movies. When we meet next time, we'll have 5 movies to look at, including Jim Carrey in the comedy classic Liar Liar, Jennifer Lopez starring as Selena. We also have the re-release of one of the greatest movies of all time, The Godfather, for its 25th anniversary. We also have Mandela and Grey's Anatomy. So 5 more movies to look at next time around, and we will delve into those on the next episode. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and I will see you guys tomorrow for another episode. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time, and until then, as always, take care.